Vulnerability is Revolution: How Black Entrepreneurs Redefine Power Through Authenticity. I want to begin today by acknowledging the profound wisdom that sparked this conversation. My recent dialogue with Monifa Johnson transformed not just my understanding of entrepreneurship, but my conception of power itself. Monifa isn't merely a business strategist or leadership coach. She is a visionary healer whose work liberates Black professionals from generations of limiting beliefs about success and strength. Through her guidance, countless individuals have discovered that their deepest wounds, when acknowledged rather than hidden, become well springs of their greatest innovations. Her revolutionary approach is reshaping entire industries by proving that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the most untapped source of sustainable power available to us. What if everything you've been taught about strength is actually keeping you small? What if the very qualities we celebrate as resilience are secretly barriers to our most profound success? This is the counterintuitive truth that emerged in my conversation with Monifa Johnson. True empowerment for Black professionals and entrepreneurs requires unlearning traditional definitions of strength and success. For generations, we've internalized a dangerous equation: resilience equals silence in the face of difficulty. Achievement demands conformity, especially when navigating spaces not designed for us. Vulnerability represents weakness, and asking for help signals failure. But what if this entire framework is backward? What if embracing vulnerability, acknowledging trauma, requesting support, choosing healing over perpetual hustle, represents the most radical form of strength and leadership available to us in both business and life? This isn't abstract philosophy. The evidence surrounds us in the stories of entrepreneurs who are rewriting success by prioritizing authenticity, community, and wholeness over the myth of the invulnerable individual. Consider Cherase Terry. When the pandemic claimed her job, conventional wisdom would have counseled caution: play it safe, minimize risk, accept limitation. Instead, Cherase founded Archive CLT Coffee Shop and Gathering Place on Beatty's Ford Road in Charlotte, a historically Black neighborhood that many investors had written off. The skepticism was immediate. Just another coffee shop in that neighborhood with limited capital during a pandemic? But Cherise understood something profound about authentic entrepreneurship. She didn't position Archive CLT as merely a business venture. She created a cultural sanctuary celebrating local Black history, leveraging community partnerships and grassroots marketing strategies that honored the neighborhood's legacy rather than attempting to revitalize it through erasure. Today, Archive CLT stands as far more than a successful business. It's recognized as an anchor institution fostering genuine economic development along Beatty's Ford Road. The shop has garnered media attention, established vibrant collaborations with local artists, and significantly increased foot traffic along a historically neglected corridor. This isn't simply a story about coffee. It's about rejecting the myth of the lone entrepreneur battling insurmountable odds through sheer force of will. It's about embracing the revolutionary power of community centered business models that honor cultural identity rather than demanding its sacrifice at the altar of professionalism. Or consider Francis Hall, who developed vocational training programs focused on construction trades for young people from marginalized backgrounds in Charlotte. Francis confronted entrenched stereotypes about who belongs in skilled trades and struggled against systemic funding inequities that prioritize traditional academic pathways over practical skill development. The conventional approach would have been to downplay the program's focus on marginalized youth, to sanitize its mission to appeal to mainstream funders uncomfortable with explicit discussions of systemic barriers. Instead, Frances amplified her authentic vision. She built relationships with local contractors who recognized untapped talent in overlooked communities. She boldly advocated for city leaders to invest resources in workforce development initiatives serving minority youth. The results speak volumes. Dozens of graduates have transitioned into well paying employment within months. Municipal officials now recognize the program as a model intervention worth replicating. By drawing upon her own experiences overcoming barriers and as a woman entering male dominated fields, Frances has fundamentally shifted perceptions around career pathways available to young Black professionals beyond traditional academic tracks. Then there's Dax McClety Sr., who successfully launched his own insurance agency after years learning under seasoned professionals. Dax navigated an industry with profound underrepresentation of Black professionals and faced initial skepticism from prospective clients unfamiliar with minority owned agencies. Rather than attempting to minimize his identity to fit into established industry norms, rather than code switching his way to acceptance, Dax invested heavily in customer education and transparent service practices that reflected community values. He came from modest beginnings without generational wealth or connections typical among his peers, but built his reputation methodically through an integrity driven approach that honored rather than concealed his authentic self. Today, Dax has grown his client base steadily through word of mouth referrals, emphasizing trustworthiness and reliability. He's become a respected leader both professionally and civically, mentoring others facing similar barriers. His success has established a powerful precedent demonstrating that minorities can thrive and lead in industries where they've been historically underrepresented. These narratives reveal a pattern that Monifa Johnson articulated with extraordinary clarity. Sustainable success for Black entrepreneurs and professionals isn't achieved by working twice as hard while hiding our authentic selves. It emerges precisely when we embrace our full humanity, including aspects conventional wisdom tells us to conceal. This brings me to three transformative insights from my conversation with Monife, principles that can revolutionize not just how we work, but how we live. First, authentic power emerges from embracing your complete story. When Sherry Terry centered her coffee shop as a celebration of local Black history and culture, she wasn't creating a marketing angle. She was building a business model aligned with her deepest values and community needs. Your wounds, your heritage, your unique perspective. These aren't liabilities to overcome, but assets to leverage. Second, community creates resilience. Building networks within our communities generates opportunities not just for individual advancement, but collective upliftment. When Frances Hall advocated for city resources supporting vocational training for minority youth, she wasn't just building her program, she was creating infrastructure for sustainable community development that'll outlast any single business venture. Third, healing fuels sustainable success. Prioritizing mental health and emotional well being isn't a luxury, it's essential for enduring entrepreneurship and leadership. When Dax McClety invested in transparent, values driven business practices rather than conforming to industry norms designed without him in mind, he wasn't just building client trust. He was creating a business model that honored his authentic self and prevented the burnout that claims so many entrepreneurs. These principles fundamentally challenge the conventional narrative that success requires compartmentalizing our identities, leaving our cultural context and personal struggles at the door. They suggest instead that our deepest power emerges precisely from integrating all aspects of who we are into how we work and lead. Let's acknowledge the difficulty in this approach. Our society still rewards the appearance of invulnerability, especially for Black professionals and entrepreneurs. The pressure to present as perpetually strong, never needing support, never showing weakness, is pervasive and reinforced at every level of our culture. The strong Black woman and unshakable Black man archetypes don't just exist in media stereotypes, they live in our family expectations, community standards, and internalized beliefs. This is why Monifa Johnson's message represents such a profound disruption. She's not suggesting a minor adjustment to business strategy, she's advocating for a fundamental reconception of strength itself. What if strength isn't about never falling, but about the courage to be seen in our fullness, including our struggles? What if leadership isn't about having all the answers, but about creating spaces where authentic questions can emerge? What if success isn't measured by how much we can endure alone, but by how effectively we build and sustain communities of mutual support? These questions aren't academic, they're urgently practical. They point toward business models prioritizing sustainability over burnout, collaboration over isolation, and wholeness over fragmentation. They suggest that truly innovative solutions emerge not from conforming to established norms, but from the creative tension that arises when we bring our full, authentic selves to the challenges we face. This is the revolutionary insight at the heart of Monifa's work. Embracing vulnerability isn't retreating from strength, it's expanding what strength can mean. Building community isn't a distraction from individual achievement, it's the foundation making sustainable achievement possible. Prioritizing healing isn't self indulgent, it's the essential groundwork for lasting impact. I want to be clear. This isn't just about feeling better, though that matters profoundly. It's about effectiveness. It's about sustainability. It's about creating models of success that don't require sacrificing health, relationships, or authenticity on the altar of achievement. The evidence grows clear daily. Businesses and careers built on authentic connection, community support, and personal wholeness aren't just more humane, they're more resilient. They weather economic storms. They adapt to changing circumstances. They inspire loyalty and trust that can't be purchased through marketing alone. So I challenge you today. What would your life and work look like if you define success not by survival alone, but by wholeness? How might your leadership transform if vulnerability became a strength rather than a weakness to overcome? How might your business evolve if community building became central rather than peripheral? What might become possible if healing became a priority rather than an afterthought? The revolution Monifa Johnson describes isn't just for Black entrepreneurs and professionals, though it has particular resonance in communities historically denied the luxury of vulnerability. It's for anyone seeking to create work that is both impactful and sustainable, both successful and fulfilling. The path forward doesn't force us to choose between effectiveness and wholeness, between success and authenticity, between achievement and community. It reveals that our greatest strength emerges through honest vulnerability. Our deepest impact flows not despite our wounds, but through the wisdom they've taught us. Our most sustainable success builds not on the myth of the invulnerable individual, but on the reality of interdependent community. This is your invitation to revolution, not through force, but through the radical act of being fully, authentically, vulnerably yourself. The world doesn't need more people burning themselves out on the altar of hustle culture. It needs leaders brave enough to show up whole, to prioritize healing, to build community, and to redefine strength itself. The question isn't whether you're strong enough to succeed. The question is, are you brave enough to be vulnerable? Because that vulnerability, that radical authenticity might just be the most revolutionary power you possess.